So just hang tight and we will begin shortly. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, to the fourth and final session for today, the importance of internships at your airport. Before we get started, I'm going to thank our sponsor, MacArthur Associated Consultants, for sponsoring this fantastic session. Before we start with our panelists, I'm going to share a quick video about MacArthur MacArthur Associated Consultants.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We hope you're having a great conference. I'm Sam Pappas with MacArthur Associated Consultants. We've been a part of the OAOA conference for many years, and we joined this year again as a gold sponsor. Through this conference and our work in aviation, we've developed long-term relationships with many of you. We're excited to be able to join with you today in virtual mode, although we really look forward to the day that we can see each of you in person. We really appreciate OAOA putting on this virtual conference this year so we can get some updates on aviation and spend some time with you. MacArthur Associated Consultants is a civil engineering and land surveying firm. We work in the planning and design of aviation, transportation, roads and bridges, rail, military design, site design, utilities, and design of facilities. We've been involved in the aviation industry for 45 years, and we've completed hundreds of aviation projects throughout Oklahoma and at some other locations throughout the United States. Some of our current projects we're working on right now in aviation are at Will Rogers World Airport. We're working on the terminal building expansion project, the terminal apron project, and also the runway 1331 reconstruction project. We've also just completed 2 general aviation projects at Carlton Landing Airport near Canadian, Oklahoma. And those were the apron and fencing project there. Their hangars are also constructed, and they also have a fueling facility there, if you didn't know that. And then the runway 1533 pavement rehabilitation and lighting project. We are also working on 2 KC-46A hangars and aprons out at Tinker Air Force Base, and those are under construction right now. Again, we're so excited to be a part of OAOA and this conference. We really believe all of those in the aviation industry in Oklahoma are just the best people in the world. So it's great to get to spend some time with each one of you. Hope you have a great conference, and we look forward to seeing you in person.
Thank you very much, MacArthur Associated Consultants, for sponsoring this wonderful session. A reminder to our attendees, make sure you visit the sponsors section of our conference website and to click through not only MacArthur Associated Consultants virtual booth, but all the other virtual booths from our other sponsors. There are hidden codes in there called waypoints They start with an OA and have 3 numbers behind them. Those are your codes, your tickets to have more chances to win the grand prize of a $300 gift card from OAOA. Paul, I will turn it over to you as the moderator for the session, sir.
All right. Thank you, Lance. And thank you to the 68 participants that are still holding on at 4 o'clock. There's nothing, I've been to a lot of conferences like most of you all, and the only thing worse that I can think of between standing between a group at conference and lunchtime is a group of conference and 5 o'clock. So I hope this last session will prove to be entertaining. I know we get some pretty common questions throughout the last couple of years that I've been involved with OAOA conference planning about internships and how important those internships are. And I think a lot of people just really are intimidated by thinking about, how do I come up with that program? What type of things do I need to do? And so today is just about having a discussion with our 3 panelists who all bring a wide variety of background in the internship world. There's really not any, I don't think anybody has any PowerPoints or presentations. It's just a discussion, have a few questions that we'll ask, but obviously if you all have questions, put them in the chat and we will work hard to get those answered for you. But without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to our panelists. We have Alexis Higgins, Foster Bakay, and Lance Lampkin, all of which have had various experiences with internship programs. And so part of my intro for them was for them to give their own intro. So I'm going to start with Alexis. Alexis, would you please just kind of introduce yourself for those that don't know and tell us your experience with the internship program?
Sure. Hi, my name is Alexis Higgins. I'm the CEO here at Tulsa International. We manage TUL and also Jones Riverside and South Tulsa. So we have had an internship program since 2000. So for 21 years, we did take a little break from about 2017 to 2020. But we've had over 100 interns. Many of them have come to work in other Oklahoma airports. So we have a lot of success stories. And I can tell you the internship program is a great opportunity, not only to provide insight to an up and coming student, but also for your employees to be able to share what they do. The best way of gaining an understanding of your roles and responsibilities is to teach someone else. And so I think our team gets a lot from being able to share their experiences with our interns. And I look forward to sharing with you all more about our program.
All right. Thank you, Alexis. Lance.
Thank you, Paul. You guys probably know me already. I've been the one squawking for most of the afternoon, but my name is Lance Lampkin. I'm the airport administrator for Max Westheimer Airport in Norman, Oklahoma. I was an intern at a couple different locations. As an intern under Walt Strong, the previous airport director for Max Westheimer Airport. And I was also an intern in Washington, D.C. for AAAE, where I spent about 6 months learning the federal affairs side of things. I also run the Max Westheimer Airport internship program on a yearly basis. We have had an intern for the last 14 or 15 years now, not counting 2020. Everyone knows 2020 doesn't count. So we are looking forward to hosting another intern this summer, and it is a fantastic opportunity, not only for us to learn, but for our students that we bring in to learn as well.
All right. Thank you. And Foster.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Foster Bakay from Stillwater Regional Airport. I'm the administrative coordinator out here. And as a student, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to do 2 internships at both Max Westheimer in Norman and at Stillwater Regional. And at Stillwater in particular, I helped to develop the program, and I now administer our internship program every fall and spring. Our internship, of course, is brand new, so we have not had hundreds of interns, but we've had 4 now. And one of them just last semester actually went and joined Alexis's team over in Tulsa. So very proud of that. And yeah.
All right. Foster and Lance, and I'll just pick on Foster since your screen's up, and then I'll have Lance follow up. Both of you mentioned how you all started as interns. How would would you consider the experience you had as an intern, how has that enhanced or better prepared you for where you're at today? Foster, if you want to lead us off.
Yeah, sure. I think with both, and you'll hear this from a lot of students currently, and this was the same for me as a student, it really opened up the doors to the possibilities of airports. So what does that mean? Well, understanding the roles about, what's out there, understanding the many perspectives and sides that make an airport run. The introduction to security, operations, planning, air service development. We all know there's a lot of things that make an airport run, and students may hear about this in their courses, but they don't know what that actually means. A lot of university programs, both of the ones in Oklahoma, and you'll find this around the country, are so focused on the airline side, the pilot side, and for good reason, but oftentimes it overshadows airports. And so things like land use, public relations, noise abatement, wildlife, all these things that make an airport run, an internship helps to fill that gap that they may not be getting in their college courses. At Max Westheimer, it's very operations based. And for me, that foundation was extremely important. As quick as it was, just over a summer. And there was a little bit of that introduction to the admin side as well. At Stillwater Regional, the following semester, the idea there was to see a different airport, a different perspective. As we all know, once you've seen one airport, you've only seen one airport. And getting that 139 experience was beneficial. When we talk about value, being exposed to the airport is what students want. They just want to be involved somehow, whether it's your board meetings, whether it's just being there day to day. And again, the fact that airports aren't necessarily being taught in the classroom is how internships can help fill that role.
All right. Foster, before we jump to Lance, can you think back over, it doesn't matter which internship, I know the better one was probably at Stillwater, but anyway, can you identify maybe 2 areas that you feel like were absolutely critical, for those that are listening and going, I'm not sure I have what it takes to develop this program, or, I would like to start one, but I want to kind of start out and kind of incrementally do it. What areas would you say, just identify 2 things that if you could take everything else away, that you would absolutely want to see in an internship program from your experience?
Yeah, the 2 things that really stood out to me, especially at Westheimer, but Stillwater as well, was kind of being involved in some of the higher level meetings. And of course, this is within reason. There's obviously things that an intern, doesn't necessarily need to know. But what I mean by this is, when as a director or a supervisor is going to a meeting that deals with marketing decisions or airspace or land use space issues, or even having them attend the OAOA conference, leadership and decision making is not something that you can teach. But having that intern there with you at some of these meetings can actually make a difference to them, and they'll get a lot out of it. The second thing that I would say is making them work on a project that is meaningful. For us at Stillwater in particular, that's kind of the culmination of the internship. I know at Max Westheimer, we have the survey of rates and charges that I'm sure a lot of Oklahoma airports, you get an email every summer from an intern, but it makes them feel part of a team. Some of the projects that we've had here at Stillwater, last semester, we had our intern do an ADA self-assessment with me. So they help kind of improve our ADA standards. This semester, we have our intern doing a fair comparison study, as well as a standard operating guideline for some of our charter operations. So again, these are things that maybe you as an airport manager don't have time for, but you could have your intern do, and it still creates value in that way as well.
All right. Lance, let's go back to you. Again, the first part of that question was talking about your internship experience and how you feel like that those experiences enhanced or better prepared you for where you're at today.
Thank you, Paul. And I guess we should say we've got Foster on here and Paul, Foster's had an internship at both of our airports. So you'll see a lot of banter back and forth. Just remember my airports better. But thinking back to when I was a student, which obviously wasn't quite that long ago, but it's starting to become more and more difficult for me to remember now these days. But thinking back to when I was a student, trying to figure out how it enhanced my experience. When you're going through these programs, either in college or if you're in high school and you're just trying to get started out and figuring out what you want, everyone talks about airports, right? Airports are these fantastic things. There's a lot of stuff going on. You look at the airplanes that fly all across our wonderful state, but you really don't know what goes on behind the scenes until you actually get on with the airport management team to figure out what's going on. And that's where really a lot of my benefit as an intern came from. A lot of people on this call, probably a majority of people on this call, were born well prior to 9/11. So back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was much easier to get onto an airport, go to air shows, go to these wonderful events that your local airport would host as it was prior to 9/11. And that's something that for me, the internship brought me in with Walt. It brought me in here at Max Westheimer, and it got me immersed into everything that the airport manager does, sees, or touches on a regular basis. And it's something we had, it's very funny. I actually took Walt's class here at OU before I was an intern. And in my mind, I can clearly remember the way I think of some things as we were learning about it in class. But when I had the internship, the idea in my head was at sometimes not even close to being correct. So the internship opportunity that your airport could provide to a local high schooler or even a local college student will really bring out or enhance what they know about airports. And it's a mind opener for that intern.
Absolutely. So what two areas, and you've probably kind of highlighted a few, but what two areas would you say are absolutely critical looking back? And I know it's getting a little fuzzier, you've been out of school a little bit longer, but looking back, what two areas of your internship really were critical and things that you hope would always be in an internship?
So the two things that really stand out from that event, first one is I remember very vividly one day following Shalon Stanley, who was then the airport operations officer for Max Westheimer Airport, following her around like a lost puppy dog, right? Trying to figure out what's going on. It's pouring rain outside, and we get the call that a Pappy is out on one of our runways. She pulls me aside and she says, "Okay, Pappy's out. This is our active runway. We've got to get it changed." So we go out there, it's pouring rain, we open up the box, take out the Pappy, we do everything that you're supposed to do, get it changed. And for that, it may not seem like a lot, but just getting an idea of what Shalon had to do on a regular basis and knowing that her job is extremely important, either airport operations job or the airport manager job is extremely important in the overall safety that goes on with aviation. So all of her FOD checks, all of the airfield lighting checks, the wildlife issues that we had, all of those items really stuck out in my mind when I think back. The second item that I would say is following Walt Strong to I don't believe it was the Aerospace Capitol Day, but there was something going on at the Capitol to where we walked around and met all our delegates. Can't quite remember if Walt just had an agenda item he was beating on for OAOA or the local airport or whatever the case may be. But going to the state capitol and realizing that airports are more than just what you see around you. It involves not only the land that the airport owns, but it involves the airspace that surrounds the airport. It involves the local community that surrounds your airport. And above all, it involves the political appointees that have jurisdiction in your airport. If one of those are something I learned, if one of those is off balance a little bit, you could be facing some dire trouble at your airport. So those are the two things that really stand out in my mind, and really, I think moving forward, everyone should try to do. Hopefully all airports are involved with their state or federal representatives, and they can drag their intern along to those meetings. It means a lot. And just running their intern through the day-to-day, what we might see is monotonous items, the airport intern will see as truly valuable to their overall internship. So those are the two things that I think are key to having any internship.
And I think both of you have brought up a great point in the fact that when you're thinking about an internship program, for those of you that don't have one and would like to start, you don't have to. It's always good to have structure, and it's always good to have those check boxes and those guides and things like that. But so much of what I've heard both Foster and Lance say is the stuff they got the most out of was just being in the shadows of of that executive or that operations person or whatever. And so things that you're already doing, if you could allow someone to just partake with you, will go a lot further than even trying to come up with some structured class or material. Which kind of leads us into the next area, because I know we've got Alexis, who believes, she said they've had she's been involved with the program for 20 or so years. Lance's program has at least 14 years, and then Stillwater's program is in its 4th year. And so I think we've got a wide variety of lessons learned and program structure. So I'd like to go back to Alexis. And Alexis, if you can just kind of give us an idea of what a semester internship looks like at your airport. If it is in fact a semester, it could be a year. I didn't mean to just jump to a conclusion there, but how is it structured? What does it look like for the application and your selection? And just kind of run through some highlights. And we'll probably spend a little bit of time here just to give some people an idea of what it looks like to actually have a program on the ground. So Alexis, you want to start us off here?
Sure. So we have a semester-long program, and ours is actually pretty structured. So our HR director took the internship program format and has summarized like what the intern should be getting out of it, and then what our team should be getting out of it. Everything from the application process to the fact that the intern that's selected has to write a learning contract. So from the get-go, they have to state what their goals and objectives are. And then what we do is try to pair what their interests are with opportunities to get exposure in those areas while they're here. And many times they don't know what they don't know, right? And so coming to the airport and spending a little time with our team, getting their feet wet, then allows them to focus more intently on those areas that they're interested in. And so for our program, the intern comes in at the beginning. They spend like a week onboarding. Our intern actually sits right outside my office. So they get a lot of exposure to just day-to-day things going on at the airport. But then they're assigned to a division for a week or 2 weeks, or, in the case of operations, 3 weeks, where they get to spend in-depth time, like learning about wildlife or airfield inspections. Or our IT department really utilized our intern, as you said, Foster, to do real world projects. So, I think it's important that we give them some real life experience so that they can put that on their resume and take that with them as something that they've accomplished while they're here. At the same time, it provides some direct benefit to the airport. Our internships are paid internships. We have a partnership with a local community foundation who funds half of the cost of our internship, and then we pay for the other half. So it's, a very economical solution for us. And then the intern at the end of their internship gives an update to all of the leadership team, where they provide an overview of what they learned, give us feedback, what can we do to improve the program? And then we provide a written evaluation of the intern just to give them some feedback, because our intent is really for it to be a great learning experience, for them to be able to hone their skills. And so I would just say, you don't have to have something as structured as we have. I'd be happy to share any of our materials, our program documents that our HR director put together if anybody's interested in them. And I can say it's just a very rewarding experience, getting to work one-on-one with students. And Lance, I liked what you said, and having spent some time with the OAC last week, I'm really thinking about these high school students and how we can get high schoolers. Our internship program is really geared to college students who are juniors or seniors, and they get course credit while also getting paid. So, hey, it's a win-win for them. But if you think about airports, you don't have to have a college degree to come work at an airport. We need people with all skill sets to come and work. And so what are we doing to reach out to high school kids who don't necessarily want to go on the 4-year track? And that's something that I think we'll be looking into further in the months ahead.
All right. Foster, why don't you take over and talk about program at Stillwater?
Yeah, the program at Stillwater started in the fall of 2019, and we normally only have an intern during the fall and spring semesters. We kind of encourage the summer to just be open to other internships, or for us, it allows us to have time to develop, gives us a little bit of that break in between. Normally, we recruit OSU students only, and we have that advantage being in Stillwater. We normally request a volunteer application form, a resume, and a cover letter. And again, we heavily recruit through the OSU School of Aviation. Some of the things we look for in particular, what are these students doing beyond the classroom? What kind of involvement do they have? Are they involved here in the local AAA chapter or some kind of aviation student club? In terms of how the internship is structured, so very similar to Westheimer, there's a program guide, there's a checklist of different topics throughout the semester to hit. A lot of times it'll kind of be, the intern will come in and we'll kind of just have a discussion about what's going on, what decisions are being made, just kind of an overview of the airport and kind of the inner workings going around, keeping them in the loop. We have them do a fair comparison study of different airports around the state and around the country. We have them work on projects like I touched on, and we also have them shadow various employees throughout the semester. So on the checklist, for example, it has these different positions they need to shadow, not just like one operations employee, but 3 different ones, because as we know, somebody could be doing something differently, but still doing it correctly. But getting all those perspectives is important. As well as others on our administrative team, things on the director level, things of that nature. We do not, ours is unpaid at this moment. We do offer college credit. We can substitute up to 9 credit hours or 3 courses for their time spent at the airport, but they do still get that professional experience, that networking opportunity. And overall, it's been working well so far over the last couple semesters.
All right, Lance.
Thank you, sir. Here at Westheimer, so we host one internship every year. It is during the summer months, usually through the months of June and July. It's not necessarily a long internship, but it is well packed worth of knowledge and information for those students. For us, we really go after and target really only the University of Oklahoma aviation students. We have some special rules and regulations set forth by the University of Oklahoma, who owns our airport, on who it can and cannot work on state property at any given time. I'm fighting back on that because, as I mentioned earlier, I would love to have a high schooler in here if at all possible, whether it's for a month or a week or whatever the timeline is, to be able to host that. As Alexis said, to start planting the seed of aviation in a student's mind as early as possible. So for us, we start, like I said, we start recruiting around this time frame. Really, I actually have 7 interns on my desk right now that this conference is keeping me from. So as soon as this is over, that's my next priority, is to go over and look at those interns and see what is the most, or who's the best candidate for us. When we're looking at all of our applicants, we look at a lot of different things. I mainly look at how well they are involved in activities aviation related or community related outside of, in our case, we get a lot of sorority and fraternity items outside of sorority and fraternity items. So if I have a student who's the president of AAAE and they volunteer at the local soup kitchen or the local church or any of those items, it's gonna bump them a little bit higher to the top of our list at Westheimer, because they're at least proving to me on paper that, hey, if you're willing to go outside of your own time and burn time to do these things to help your local community or perhaps help other people in your industry, that proves to me that you're willing to put a lot into this internship. You're dedicating your own time, your own knowledge, your own energy to learning about aviation and helping the community. And I think that should be rewarded a little bit. As far as what does the intern learn, we're not quite as structured as Alexis. We have a basic level of structure of ideas, about 40, 50 items long, of things that the airport intern should learn over their 2 months. But that changes frequently. There are some hard set things, as Foster talked about earlier, where we have them call, email, and interview all the airports across Oklahoma for their hangar rents, their land leases, their fuel costs, all of those items to help benefit not only our airport, but all airports across Oklahoma. But there's also some loosely based items. They sit on the other side of this glass wall behind me, so I can kind of hawkeye them at any time. But if I have something pop up where a noise complaint comes to my desk, or the president of the university or the vice president of the university calls me asking for about some questions going on, or if I have a meeting that pops up on main campus, I pop into that office and I say, hey, either get in here or grab your stuff, we're going. Wherever I go, they go with me. So like I said, we have a structure to some bit, to some circumstance, but if I've got something that pops up, they're coming with me. Very rarely have I ever turned an intern away and said, okay, you probably shouldn't show up to this one. Those are usually the meetings where I'm going to get yelled at and I know it. So I leave them behind to save them the heartache. As far as what they get from our internship, they do get paid. We pay them not a heck of a lot, but we do pay them about $1,000 each month, $2,000 in total. And we also give them class credit if they would like, up to 3 hours. So that's our internship in a nutshell.
All right. I didn't hear Foster or you mention the journal. You still do your journal. I know Foster, that was something that Foster brought here and spoke highly of it as far as being able to look back where the interns keep a journal and it's actually kept in a notebook. And then as new interns come in, they can peruse back over. And I think it's kind of a cool history lesson, if nothing else, about, but can you tell a little bit about that?
You know, this was, I cannot take credit for this, nor will I take credit for this. This was Walt Strong's idea back when he started this internship program. And he would always tell us that the weakest ink is always stronger than your strongest memory. And at first, as a young, dumb college student, I was like, yeah, whatever. But when I got into this program and I looked at the past 6 years or 5 years of journals that came before me and learned what those students did, it opened my eyes to what I'd be learning in the future. And not only from what I learned in the past, but keeping those records were extremely important because it helps the intern moving forward in the future, but it also helped me look back and say, hey, I did this, I learned this. And it's a cool little timeline that we were able to produce. And I still have it in this drawer right here next to me today that I look at on occasion. It's just a fantastic and easy way, and an intern can keep record of what's going on. It's also a good habit to form in the future.
All right.
I would just add on with the journal. I think it's great as an intern coming in, looking back at who's been in the internship and seeing where they are now and seeing how their experiences compared to you. That's why I brought the journal to Stillwater. I think in the next coming years, when we see all our interns where they end up, I think that'll be cool for the current intern that semester and so on. So.
Absolutely. I had one question come in about the age, the minimum age of 18, and wanting to know if that was still a requirement either for the program or for legal reasons. Alexis, you may be able to speak a little more about that. Your program's been going the longest. Do you have a minimum age requirement or waivers or anything legal that has to be involved?
So our intern program today is for juniors and seniors in college. So they tend to meet the age requirement. I mean, you have to have a driver's license because you're going to be driving airport vehicles. And we haven't really encountered a situation where we do have high school students that have to job shadow some of our employees from time to time. If they reach out to us and request that, then we'll let them job shadow us, but they're not allowed to drive airport vehicles. We have, I mean, unrelated to the internship program, I think is you can work at an airport as long as you're over 16 in the state of Oklahoma, but I'd have to defer to my director of HR to confirm that requirement. So.
And I'm going to put you on the spot. It's not one of our questions we talked about, but one of the things that we just did that was super neat this semester, and Grayson with OAC just sent me a message about um, doing some partnerships, because OAC also has an intern program that they do spring, summer, and fall. But we recently got to participate in an intern swap where your intern at Tulsa came to Stillwater and our Stillwater intern went to Tulsa. And so I thought that was, I was just over the moon with that. And I thought just the feedback we've gotten from both interns, both of them really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that we're wanting to do that with our employees, but definitely for our interns to have the opportunity while they're here to get that experience and network with each other because they have similar interests. We actually recruit interns from all over the United States. We love to have them from OSU or OU. We've had them from both schools, but the past two that we've had, one was from Virginia and one was from Florida. And so for them to be able to come in and meet some of their, colleagues that are their age, I think would be a super beneficial. And then they get that perspective from the lens of someone who has similar interests as them. So I absolutely would encourage us to continue to develop that opportunity.
And I think internship opportunities are kind of like hangers in Oklahoma. There's just not enough of them to go around. I think between the two schools, just the big schools in the state that have aviation management programs, there's 300 or 400 students at least. Now, not all of them are going to want to do airport management, but there's quite a few that do. And so I did have a question that came up about the competitive nature of those programs. And sometimes a student will get into a requirement to actually have an internship to graduate as part of graduation. So those that aren't selected, do you have any advice? And it can go to Alexis or Foster or Lance, but those of you that have had an experience of, hey, I've got to have this to get a class credit or whatever. Do you have any advice on other? I know Alexis talked about going out of state, and I'm sure there's other out of state opportunities, but we certainly like to keep our students in state if we can. But any thoughts on that?
So, I mean, number one, I would just reach out to airport managers today and volunteer. I mean, it's nice to get paid for an internship, but if there's an opportunity for you to volunteer at an airport in order to get the experience, I think that most airports would be willing to consider that. So I think generally people want to help other people, especially people in our industry. I mean, we're a very tight-knit industry. If you go to a conference in Dallas or in Florida or wherever, that's just kind of the nature of airport people, right? We all like to help each other out when we need it. And so I would just tell a student, if they don't get selected for a program, to look for an alternative path, be persistent, demonstrate your skills. I mean, demonstrate that you can write a letter and form complete sentences, or demonstrate your verbal skills and have conversations. I mean, it is a competitive process. We had 16 applicants that we were looking at for our spring semester internship. And what we do is we require all of the applicants to write an essay, not all of them. We narrow it down to about the top 5 candidates. And we require them to write an essay about why they want to have an internship at the airport. And that's for us to learn about them, but also to see what kind of skills are they going to bring to the table in order to support the organization. And so just be persistent and reach out to the Aeronautics Commission or reach out to other industry players, consultants. There are many different paths to get an internship opportunity. It doesn't have to be directly for an airport, and maybe just brainstorm with someone about other potential paths to take.
And that's a great segue into our next question, which is, we sometimes, particularly if we're not paying our students or not paying them very much, there's a little hesitancy, at least on our part at Stillwater, because we are not a paid internship, that you kind of keep the busy work, so to speak, to a minimum. You want them to get more out of it, but it does take a lot out of an airport manager or an administrator or ops person, whoever's assigned an intern, they've got their hands full on making sure that they get that experience. What benefits have you found? And Alexis, you can jump off, or we can jump to someone else. But what benefits have you found the airport gets out of having internships?
I think number one is just fresh perspective, right? I mean, one of the great things about working here is we work with a team of people who have a lot of experience. And so you have an intern come into your organization who has the fresh eyes, fresh ideas. They ask a lot of questions, and then we have to stop and think, why do we do it this way, right? And so there's that piece of it that's a little hard to measure. But at the same time, our intern this semester is working on a project that we're going to add monitors out in our hallway so we can provide updates to the public about different things going on in the airport. And he identified the software, and all of our interns are getting these hands-on projects that are meaningful to us and to our team. And it's something that we can say at the end of the day, this helped our organization move forward. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity. In the past, we had interns, and several of you who are OAOA members were interns here when we used to give tours all the time. And we don't do tours today. We might start doing that again in the future. But our interns were our ambassadors. They went out and led our tours, and were the face of the airport for hundreds of school children every day. And so that may be something, again, that we look at doing. But there are always opportunities for it to be a win-win. And that's what an internship program should be. The airport should walk away feeling like this was a good investment of our time and our resources. And then the students should walk away feeling like they really had a great experience and have been able to learn something that they're going to take with them into their future. We don't traditionally onboard interns into jobs at the airport. I mean, the internship is truly an experience here at the airport for that specific time frame. We don't promise that there's a position waiting for you at the end of your internship. In fact, that rarely ever happens. But we do support you in your job search. We are a great resource for you as you go out and look for opportunities. And we're going to be your biggest fan as you apply for jobs and are looking for letters of reference and recommendations. And so I would just say, find that win-win for your organization, and make the most of it, and have that conversation with your student. Make it a two-way communication if you can, so that you're getting feedback constantly about your program.
Okay, thank you. Lance, you had anything to add to that?
I mean, not really add. Alexis really nailed it on the head. But I will say that for those airport managers in the audience right now, the physical thing you get out of it is a helping hands, right? So it takes a second to get that intern up to speed with what's going on. But if you've done the research, you've selected a fantastic candidate, or what you believe is a fantastic candidate, most times, 9 times out of 10, they're going to do excellent work right out of the gate. So you get them up to speed, and you throw them a project, they're going to take that thing and look at it like it's the golden ticket. They're going to take it and run. So, and it kind of leads me into my next item, which is, a fresh eyes, as again, Alexis pointed out. Some of these kids, most of these kids, are really, really bright. They come in and they'll just ask you questions, and it almost knocks you back, because you're like, well, I've never been asked that question in that frame ever before. So let's go research the answer together, or you research the answer and come back to me and we'll talk about it. And one of those, I'm going to brag on my intern, because he was my intern here first. Foster, down there in the corner, or wherever he is on your screen, was one of those students that was just a go-getter, right? And you'll get a lot of these students in your internships that are just go-getters. And to be able to, another benefit you get out of these is to be able to watch these individuals grow. Every intern I have ever had, which I am up to 9 interns throughout my career, I follow where each one of them go. I want to know which jobs you get. If you need a reference, I want to be there for you. If you need anything from me at all, call me. Because, watching Foster move to Stillwater, watching another intern go to Dallas Love Field in the operations department, another intern at DFW operations, it just gets me all giddy inside, right? Because I know that my internship directly, or at least I hope, directly helped that student get to where they are today. I always joke with Foster, and I hope you blush about this, that one day I'm going to come to Foster and be like, hey, I need a job. Please come help. So you'll get a lot out of it. As the airport manager, you will get a lot, physical and emotionally, from your for your own self, or I guess for your airport self.
I say that all the time, Lance. I tell our interns, one day I'm going to come to you looking for a job. And I'm serious. You just never know.
You never.
And I'm right there with you. There's nothing better than to see people who are interns with you excel in their careers. And we have a lot of airport managers in Oklahoma who started out as an intern, and all the way to vice presidents of airlines who interned here in Tulsa. So it's pretty exciting, and it's like a proud parent.
It is. And I'll say, before we pass it over to Foster, I will say, wasn't my intern, but we do have a director of the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission who was an intern at Max Westheimer at one point in time. So leads great places.
Well, and on the way to Foster, I'll just say the experience I had as a new airport director with a very new internship program is it also gave an opportunity to kind of test drive that employee a little bit and see what type of person they were. When we had the position come open, there was absolutely zero doubt on who we wanted to hire for that position. And so it really kind of makes recruiting that much easier as well, because they're now a known product. And sometimes, as most managers can attest, that's a scary thing. Because most people you hire, you're going to invest 6 months to a year into before they even have their job down. And if you're going to know whether or not they're capable of that job. And so sometimes, getting that preview ahead of time pays off. So now that we've talked about Foster enough, Foster, you got anything to add to that?
Well, you guys have stolen pretty much all the points I was going to mention. One thing I will add, though, and I think it's a great addition. I know, we mentioned Director Arties. He's mentioned this to us in OAOA before, is that community relations side. We talked about, reaching out to your high schools, reaching out to your colleges, and this fits it perfectly with that. I know our intern currently right now, she's gone over to her AAA chapter, her OSU classes, and she talks about the internship. She talks about the airport. And so now everybody who didn't really know about, our airport, they knew about, OSU Flight Center and all that, but they didn't know about the airport, who were running it. That's helped that image of how we appear to the OSU community in a way, in the aviation community. So I think that is a great addition and kind of another advantage that maybe you may not think about.
Absolutely. Well, we're starting to run out of time, but wanted to just give each of you a few minutes, just parting words as far as any tips, tricks. I know I've heard from pretty much all of you today that the willingness to absolutely assist anybody else in the state that would like to try to get a program like this off the ground. And I know there's, just like a lot of things in aviation and airports, we try not to reinvent wheels. We don't have to, but any tips or tricks, lessons learned, things, people that are sitting out here going, man, this is awesome. I'd really like to try this. How do I even get started? Or what are some things I need to look for or avoid? So Foster, the screen's on you. So let's go ahead and kick it to you, and then we'll just go around the room real quick.
Yeah, sure. The typical tips are going to be, have the patience, tweak it as you go, and create a program with expectations. The best way to recruit, I would say, is, send your internship once you have it created to your nearest university or college and get it out to their students. I know for us, whether it's at Westheimer or Stillwater, you have that advantage of having a university with an aviation program. That doesn't mean you have to stop there. If you have any kind of college or university, however small, reach out to those business students, reach out to those tech schools that may be teaching aviation. Great airport employees can come from anywhere, as Alexis alluded to. Obviously, every intern is going to be different. And I would say be flexible. The internship doesn't, and this is just for us, but whoever's thinking to create, doesn't have to be full-time. It can be a 1 to twice a week coming in, just getting experience any way they can while they balance their other things going on in their lives. So again, it'll take time to build up and tweak, but have the patience, and it's very rewarding in the end. and the intern, they get so much out of it. They'll thank you so much. So.
All right, Lance.
Tips and tricks. A lot of our members are owned either by a municipality. Well, most of them are owned by a municipality. There's some airport authorities, but for the municipalities out there, which is the majority of you, I would just start off by talking with your local, whoever your boss is, whether it's the city manager, the city mayor, whoever it is, and just ask them, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Get your boss's approval first and then start working it through HR. As Paul said, don't reinvent the wheel unless you really want to. But there are sources, other airports, the three of us, Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission is also hosting an intern. Shalon Stanley at Guthrie Edmond Regional hosts an internship. Reach out to one of us and ask, hey, can you send me the information? I'll send you everything I got because I want to make sure you have as much information as you could possibly ever want to host an internship at your airport, because at the end, it is worth it. I've had really good interns and I've had some interns, and whether they're the or the really good, that's worth it in my eyes. So get out there, do a little bit of the legwork, and it goes a long way for your airport, from a production side of things, but also from an internal and a good feelings side of things.
All right, Alexis, thank you.
I mean, I would just echo what Foster and Lance have shared. And I would just say, start small. So Lance has said, their program is a summer program. That's a little more manageable because it's a couple months versus a full semester long program. Dip your toes in the water, see what you think, and reach out to us. I mean, seriously, we are all resources. We'd be happy to share any of our documents as well. And if you have a great student, since you guys have that connection, you guys reach out to airport managers and say, let us know, hey, I have a great student and here, do you have an opportunity? Because as much as we filter through applications, at the end of the day, it's a piece of paper, right? You guys, because you're in a university setting, may have some connections that the rest of us in the state may not otherwise have. And so I think people are intimidated a little bit by it because you think, oh, I'm going to have to invest a lot of time. But really, at the end of the day, as soon as you get going, you see it's not as intimidating as you think it is, and it's definitely worth it. So
it's kind of like being a parent too. They probably won't realize any mistakes that you make. So they're coming into an environment that's new to them, and I can certainly appreciate. I know I was I guess Foster's manager, I guess, when he was here. I made all kinds of mistakes. He just never knew about it. He probably does now, but there's, you don't have to be perfect. But thank you all very much today. I think we've answered all the questions. I do want to give another special shout out to MacArthur Associated Consultants for sponsoring this session. And thank you to our panelists for taking this time. I'm going to toss it back to Lance because I have a feeling the 58 people that are still holding on are waiting for the final prizes of the day. So Lance, back to you.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. And thank you for our panelists for being here today. It was a fantastic session. I hope our airports that are still on, or even our consultants for that matter, take what we're saying to heart. It does mean a lot to students coming out of high school or coming out of college. You would not believe what these internships mean to them. I wish I could have 100 interns, but that might be a bit much for me. And I don't think my boss would like the cost associated with that from our side, but it's worth it. I guarantee it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and spotlight myself here because I'm gonna go and cover the last little bit for session 4. Again, huge thank you to MacArthur Associated Consultants for sponsoring this session. Thank you very much for being a sponsor with OAOA and continuing to be a friend of our association. The waypoint code for session 4 is educate. That is educate. There are also 2 gift baskets for this session, both sponsored by MacArthur Associated Consultants. If you'll give me 1 second here, I'll pull them up. First gift basket up is another made in Oklahoma gift basket. And the winner of this will be Blake Green. Blake Green out of Wiley Post Airport in Oklahoma City. Blake, you are the winner of this wonderful Made in Oklahoma basket sponsored by MacArthur Associated Consultants. The second gift basket, pull it up, is what we call a designer, our designer gift basket. So you have some wonderful sunglasses, a Apple's watch band, a necklace, a wristband, and a watch. So lots of good items, all sponsored by MacArthur Associated Consultants. And the winner of this gift basket is Gina Oman. Gina Oman out of Watonga Regional Airport. Congratulations, Gina. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's session and conference. Please join us tomorrow. Again, we have 4 more excellent sessions for you. We will start again at 12:30 and run to 5 p.m. The Waypoint game is still on. We will be giving away gifts at the end of each session, as we've done today. Until then, we will see you tomorrow. Stay safe and God bless. Good night, everyone.